You come here to learn about the trapper. You want to be the best trapper there is. Well, let's get into it. So the Trapper is one of DBD's base killers, so he comes free with the game. Trapper's personal realm is the Macmillan estate, and a fun fact is his real name is Evan Macmillan, and his main speciality is catching survivors who step in his traps. He's rated as an easy difficulty level, but he can be one of the slower killers to gain momentum with how his power works. So before we start talking about the Trapper's power, let's just quickly cover strengths and weaknesses of the Trapper. So one of his strengths is the ability to cut off or disable loops with traps. So you completely bypass them with either traps that you've placed in early game or in mid-chase. You may end up coming back to that loop. And another strength of the Trapper is that he has good snowball effect if, and a big if, the survivors are clumsy and walk into traps. Some of his weaknesses then is that he can have a slow early game, and this is due to the amount of time that his power takes to set up. Remember, the Trapper can only carry 2 traps at a time, so going to set up traps, around vaults, around Killer Shack, and then going to grab more takes a lot of time out of the early game if that's the method you're going for. Another weakness of the Trapper is that he has no in-chase ability for fast survivor downs. Unless you come across a trap that you placed in an earlier loop, there's not really a certain power that you can use, like Wesker, like Huntress, where you can get fast down, so it may be a little bit harder for you to gain that down. And his last weakness then is that he has quite poor mobility. He's still at 4.6 meters per second, like other killers without a long range attack, but at the same time, with his lack of power that you can use within loops and chases with survivors, it can take a little bit longer to get that down. His speed is 4.6 meters per second or 115%, which is average for all killers with a short range attack. His terror radius is 32 meters, which is also average for most killers, and his height is tall, so remember, survivors may be able to see his head when looping depending on the height of the wall or object being looped. So the Trapper's 3 personal perks are Unnerving Presence, Brutal Strength, and Agitation. So looking into Unnerving Presence, survivors within your terror radius have a 10% greater chance of triggering skill checks when repairing or healing, and triggered skill check zones are reduced by 60%. This perk can be matched well with Distressing, Coulrophobia, and Deadlock. So this build can make the survivors overall have tougher skill check zones whilst healing and working on a generator. Moving on to Brutal Strength, you destroy dropped pallets, breakable walls, and generators 20% faster. This perk can be matched well with Overcharge, Unforeseen, and Eruption. So this build is if you want to maximize your power of kicking pallets faster and applying perks kicking gens faster. And last but not least, Agitation. This perk increases your movement speed while transporting bodies by 18%, and whilst you're transporting a body, your terror radius is increased by 12 meters. This perk can be matched well with Scourgehook, Pain Resonance, Starstruck, and Awakened Awareness. This build allows you to see the aura of survivors whilst you're carrying another survivor, and expose those survivors, and with the possibility of downing them with the extra speed from Agitation. Now onto the Trapper's power. The Trapper's only power are his bear traps. He begins each trial carrying 2 bear traps, with an additional 8 bear traps randomly spawning throughout the map. When you place a trap, you get a 7.5% haste for 5 seconds, which allows you some time to catch up to the survivor who's running away from the loop. Setting a trap takes 0.5 seconds to crouch down, 1.5 seconds to set the trap, another 0.5 seconds to stand back up, and that totals overall to 2.5 seconds. So what happens if a survivor gets stuck in a bear trap? If a healthy survivor is caught in a bear trap, they will go into the injured state. They can try to free themselves, which can take any number of attempts up to a maximum of 6 attempts, with an escape chance of 16.67% per attempt, or they can be freed from the trap by a teammate immediately, which takes 1.5 seconds. The default time for survivors to disarm a trap is 3.5 seconds, although there are add-ons which can increase that time, such as the 4-coil spring kit, which makes it 33% longer for survivors to disarm your traps, and the secondary coil, which makes it 50% longer for survivors to disarm your traps. These two add-ons together make it 83% longer for survivors to disarm your bear traps. Along with other add-ons such as the Trapper Bag, which allows you to start and carry 3 traps throughout the trial instead of 2. Speaking of the Trapper's add-ons, other add-ons that also work well together are the Bloody Coil and the Iridescent Stone. The Bloody Coil turns a healthy survivor into the injured state when the survivor disarms a trap, where the Iridescent Stone makes one trap automatically reset itself every 30 seconds. This maximizes the number of survivors that are injured throughout the trial and ensures that the survivors will stay away from disarming your traps, and if they don't, then they'll be easy one-hit downs. The next set of add-ons are the Honing Stone and the Tension Spring. The Honing Stone makes the survivor enter the dying state if they free themselves from a bear trap. Match this up with the Tension Spring, which resets a bear trap 2 seconds after a survivor frees themselves, and you may end up with more than one survivor in the dying state at a time. Just imagine a survivor frees themselves from a bear trap and enters the dying state, only for another survivor to come and rescue the downed survivor, but then they get caught in the same trap. That's called a 2-for-1 coupon, courtesy of the Trapper. If you're looking for add-ons to go alongside a basement trapper build, then look no further than the Trapper Sack and the Makeshift Wrap. The Trapper Sack allows you to carry all 10 of your bear traps at the start of the trial, on the condition that once traps are placed, you can never pick them back up. However, with the Trapper Sack, you can go straight to basement and start to set up your traps. This is where the Makeshift Wrap comes in. The Makeshift Wrap allows the trapper to walk over his own traps without being caught in them. So if you down a survivor by basement, you won't have to worry about getting caught in one of your traps when you're carrying them back to the hook. There are 3 main ways to utilize the Trapper's power. There is the hard choke, the medium choke, and the soft choke. So let's explain what these are. The hard choke involves placing traps in tight paths where the survivor is most likely expected to go. This can prevent survivors from interacting by placing traps in doorways, at pallets, at the exit gate switch, or to block hex totems. These can be the strongest type of trap placements as they delay the survivors and allow the trapper time to catch the survivor. However, some survivors may predict them and be on the lookout for obvious trap placements, so do be careful about where you place them. The medium choke involves placing traps in tight corridors and paths that the survivor may take. This can include looping around a tile or a loop, such as Killer Shack, or placed at a pallet in a short wall jungle gym. The only downside to this type of placement is that survivors can just hold W and go to the next jungle gym, so it might be a good idea to place some of the medium traps at the start of the match rather than in chase. The last type of play is a soft choke. This will include placing traps out in the open in random areas around the map that the survivors may not usually run or look out for traps, but they also don't block a path. This can be a big shock to a survivor who can get caught in a trap in the least expected locations, such as in small bushes around the map, in the middle of the road, or around small loops that are not directly at the pallet. The downside of this type of play is that you may not get many survivors to get caught in them once they notice the trap in the bushes. They may be overall aware throughout the remainder of the trial. So now that we've explored the different types of trap placements, what are the most effective ways for us to place traps? Effective trap placement is very important. Distance involves how far away from an object you must place a trap for maximum effectiveness. So if you're trying to trap a doorway, you will obviously place the trap directly in the center of that doorway to block it from being used. However, when trapping a pallet at a loop, if you place the trap directly underneath the pallet, the survivor can simply drop the pallet over the trap and vault over it. So in this case, you will always want to place the trap on one side of the pallet. If the trap is placed too far away from the pallet, then the survivors can simply walk around the trap mid-chase. Because survivors have a smaller hitbox than the killer, the survivor may be able to walk directly around the trap without getting caught by it, whereas the killer cannot. If we're talking about the width of a path, then we want to be placing it nearly directly in the center most of the time. If the path you're trapping is narrow, like going through a pallet, you will want to place the trap in the center of the path. This will give you the best opportunity for the trap to reach the hitbox of the survivor. If you place the trap off to the side, then the survivor may be able to sneak past it, just the same as placing the trap too far away from the pallet. For vault locations, your main concern is to not place traps too close to the window. If you do, a survivor could simply fast vault out and over the trap, leaving you look like a fool. Instead, you should place the trap a little further out from the window to ensure that the survivor lands straight in it. Okay, somebody brought in the big red map. Okay, guys, this is an example of basement trapper. We have the trapper sack, we have the makeshift wrap add-on. Basement is in Killer Shack. We brought in an offering for that, and we're also running Awakened Awareness, Iron Grasp, Starstruck, and Agitation, so we can possibly down somebody and then bring them as close as possible towards basement. So here's what we're going to do. We have 10 traps. We're going to start hooking up basement straight away on the outside and on the inside. Is that somebody in the locker? Are my spidey senses tingling? Sable? Guys, we sort of got lucky. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna take it. And now what we're gonna do is start setting up all the rest of our traps in along by basement. We don't have to worry about standing on any of our traps, getting trapped in any of our traps. We have the makeshift wrap to worry about all of these traps getting disarmed if we ever walk over them. We have 2 more traps left. Okay, so she got off hook with the anti-camp. Oh god, no, she realized now she's stuck. She knows. I'm sorry, Sable. Yes, I know. I know, Sable. Don't give me that look, okay? I was honestly hoping that somebody else was going to try and come for the save before she got the anti-camp. But hey. Hey, you. Hey, you. We get him with Starstruck, thankfully. So it saves us from having to reset all of them. That's 2 we've got in basement. Nice tap. That is 3 we've got in basement. Well, this match is actually starting to become a lot faster than I expected. And no joke, guys, this is my first game on with this build. This is my first game on. Now, is she gonna find the hatch first, or are we? Oh, she found it. Good luck, Meg. Well done. GG's. So folk, that is the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching if you've gotten to this stage. I would appreciate it if you hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, and maybe subscribed if you're not already to come back for more. And also do remember I stream over on Twitch about 3 or 4 days a week. at DnoxKate. So do come over and check us out there. Until next time, peace out, Girl Scout.